Hi everyone, Adrienne here, and I'm here to give you an ankle replacement update. It's been a hot second since I last made a video for you, and that is because I've been out living my life, and what maybe used to not be normal has become normal, like the activity that I do and the fun that I have, and so I forget to make a video. God has blessed me on so many different levels. Now, I do want to preface it by saying my joint is not perfect, but it's perfect for me and this stage and phase of life. So today is June 28th, 2026. I had my ankle replacement in November of 2013. So I'm coming up on 13 years. I can't believe it. At the time I elected my ankle replacement, I more or less asked the doctor, just please buy me 10 years because medical technology is going to change. And it is indeed changing, but my replacement is still working. That comes with a few limitations and a few things that I want to make you aware of if it's something that you're considering in your life. But I want to make sure that you know where I'm coming from and kind of what my back history is, because I hear from people all over the world, which is awesome. But everyone is coming to this crossroads of deciding on an ankle replacement with different backgrounds, different expectations. And so I just want to quickly kind of give you a background of where I was coming from. At the age of 24 is when I had a very horrible accident. And at the time I was living and working as a professional performer. So I was trained as a dancer, followed up by a singer and an actress. And I was actually out on contract in the great state of Texas doing a show. And it was on one of our days off, and I was young and invincible and was learning how to ride a horse bareback while I was out there. It had nothing to do with the show that I was contracted to perform in. I was just in Texas, and the area I was, that's what you did on days off. So anyway, long story short, I spooked the horse and the horse bucked and I got really good air. But when I hit the ground, I more or less severed my foot from my leg. When I got into the emergency room, I was a compound fracture. So I had about 6 inches of bone that had come through the skin. And when my foot popped off, I took a whole additional step in the field, which it caused a lot more complication. I had a tremendous amount of infection, but in the ER on that fateful day, this was back in 2007, on that fateful day, the doctor went into the OR expecting to amputate my foot because I was a textbook case for an amputation, but decided that given my career and my age, he was going to do his best to clean it out, reattach it, and then if I was going to lose my foot, it was because my body was going to reject it. And so fast forward a couple of months, of course, my infection got worse. I ended up having to go in for another surgery where they removed my inner thigh muscle, which is my gracilis muscle. If you're a dancer watching this, it's the very muscle that you're using when you turn out in your first position or to raise your leg. In a battement or a kick. But anyway, they took that muscle and they reattached it to my ankle. So you can look at some other videos and I show my ankle. It's kind of my badge of honor. But that stopped the infection, and that is a whole different video, the recovery process from that. If anyone's interested, drop me a note and I'll create a video on what the recovery was like receiving a free flap, because it was quite strenuous and intense. But moving down the road, they were able to preserve my foot, but my pain levels were off the charts. Pain management is just a tough road to go. And when I say pain management, that usually involves narcotics, which I did not like. So I did the best I could with ibuprofen for as long as I could. I am skipping over a handful of details. I wrote a book. If you're looking for somebody to walk alongside you through this journey, that was the mindset that I wrote this book about. So I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail here because I want to talk about life with an ankle replacement. But this is the story, the journey of the accident of going from a performer to learning how to walk again. It's called Blood, Sweat, and Tiaras. You can find it on Amazon. Shameless plug, but that's the only thing I'll plug. I don't have any sponsors. This is just me talking honestly to you as you're trying to navigate a world, or family members trying to navigate a world. I got about 6 years down the road, and I was to the point that my pain levels were so bad, I couldn't walk to the mailbox. At this point in time, I think I'm about 29 years old. I came home from work one day, collapsed in my driveway, and had to climb up the stairs, and I knew something had to be done. The gold standard was an ankle replacement. Not an ankle replacement, an ankle fusion. I happened to work in orthopedics at that point in time. I have, along with performing, I have a degree in marketing and public relations. And so I ended up landing a job with an orthopedic group, which was really cool because it gave me a front row seat to all the technology that was coming out. Obviously, I was very interested in an ankle replacement, but every doctor I met with said, you really don't want to do that. You really want to do a fusion. It's the gold standard. A replacement won't last your lifetime. For me, I wasn't ready to have the conversation. Well, I was ready to have the conversation about a fusion, but I didn't like the outcome of that either, and the arthritis it would cause deeper into my foot, down through all the smaller bones of my foot. And so I was really trying to find some technology, and I just couldn't find it. I couldn't find it within the practice that I worked. I couldn't find it within anywhere in the United States. And I was finally starting to look abroad to see if there was some newer technology that just maybe wasn't FDA approved. And it just so happens I got a call from a family member who had gotten wind of a doctor who had new technology. And if God's hand's not all over this, like, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. The doctor ended up being 20 minutes from my house. He actually worked at a practice that I lived closer to than the practice where I worked. So that was like one of many miracles. But anyway, I went in and met with him. I'm getting kind of caught up in the backstory here, and there's other videos that talk about my backstory. So let me kind of fast forward a little bit. So he gave me the ankle replacement. It came with a lot of discussion, a lot of prayerful thought on both of our behalfs before we did it. And first of all, I get a lot of questions about the recovery from an ankle replacement, and how long is it, and when do you get to be active, and what can you do? And it's interesting because those are some of the questions that are so far in my past that I really have to dig to be able to answer those, because my life has grown so much beyond that. So I say that to give you hope and what your future can look like. But navigating the post-operative was tough. First of all, I had chosen a brand new piece of technology that was just approaching the year mark of having been on the market for a year. I was the second youngest person in the country to elect having it, and it came with 0 guarantees. I went into this, as I may have mentioned before, I went into this asking the doctor, can you just buy me 10 years to get me down the road? Like, let's see where medicine goes. And he was willing to give it a try. Some of the doctors I actually worked with pulled me aside prior to the surgery and were like, Adrienne, we don't think this is a good idea. You're too young. And this is just not the standard. And I had to prayerfully consider, and what I like to tell people is when your head, your heart, and your ankle align, I think that's when you know you're headed in the right direction. And the only way to get those 3 things aligned is to get down on your knees and to ask for some guidance. So I went forward with this very controversial surgery. Here I am, non-weight bearing for 6 weeks. At the same time that they did the replacement, they pulled out my hardware for my actual injury because I was walking around on a broken plate. So they pulled that out. and they had to lengthen my Achilles. I was having a lot of issues with my Achilles. So some of my life with an ankle replacement, you have to take all of that into consideration. Just like anyone considering an ankle replacement has a different scenario than I do, like your recovery is going to look a little different, but there's probably going to be some parallels. You're bringing different life experiences to the table, just like I'm bringing different life experiences. But I will tell you, during that 6 weeks of my initial non-weight bearing physical therapy, there were a handful of physical therapy sessions that I laid down on the table. The therapist took a look and would walk away and go get another therapist. And that therapist would come over and then they would go get another therapist. And I remember one therapy session where they're all standing there with their arms crossed and they're just looking at me. And I go, "What?" And they go, "We've never dealt with someone your age having received this. Most people we deal with that have an ankle replacement, number one is they're already an outlier. Number two, they're 70. You're 30 years old." And so it was a very, very weird recovery. And there were many times I laid on that table and I just bawled. To be quite frank, I cried. Again, another video is the mental health aspect, the psychiatry of what you go through, going through a trauma, and then electing a surgery that's questionable and dealing with pain management, and you can't walk. You go from a super active life to you can't walk. So again, different video, different day if you're interested. The recovery, when I finally was able to walk, you'll find a video on my YouTube channel. I made it for my mom, and the only way I knew how to share it with her at the time was by uploading it to YouTube. I didn't know it would become so popular, but it's just me walking across the kitchen, and you can see how young I am. And I'm walking heel to toe, and I hadn't walked heel to toe, barefoot across the floor in years. Literally years. And so that was a really big moment for me. And I can't remember, it might say on the video how far post-op I was. It probably does. But I bet that was within 8 to 10 weeks post-op. And then life just started progressively getting better. And so when people ask me, like, when were you fully recovered? I don't really remember, because everything, it was like you're a little kid or you're just learning a sport. Every day you get a little bit better. Every day you get a little bit stronger. I love to mountain bike. I summited my first mountain with an ankle replacement 6 months post-op. I do remember that because I took a picture or a video or something because I was so excited. I didn't know if I'd be able to do that. But as far as like recovery with the lengthening of the Achilles, I remember that took a whole lot longer than the ankle replacement itself. The doctors told me, they said the Achilles will take probably 8 to 12 months to heal, and they were spot on. It took 8 to 12 months. The replacement did great. And so I just kind of started taking off with my life. They forewarned me, they said, you could probably run and jump if you really want to, but you're 30 years old and we want this to last as long as it can. So they told me from the beginning, no running, no jumping. I used to be a runner back before the age of 24. I used to be a runner. So that, I had to come to terms with that. But not being able to run, not being able to hike for so many years, I found that I had freedom on a bicycle. And so by the time I had my ankle replacement, I had already fallen in love with biking. So being able to get back to mountain biking 6 months post-op, that's incredible. And then you'll see some other videos too where I'm just walking in sand. And there's literally nothing else going on. I'm walking in sand. But anyone watching this that has an ankle injury and has tried to go to the beach, I would not be surprised if you could tell me that your beach adventures have ended up in tears because you can't walk in the sand. It's so hard. Well, I can walk in the sand now, which is incredible. And so just as time progresses, you become stronger. And I'm sitting in my home gym on purpose. Like, this room gets used by me, by yours truly, and you can see pictures over here. You can't see them on the other side, but one of the things my husband and I are doing is we're putting the pictures in our workout room that require an active lifestyle in order to be able to do it. We've got one where we've hiked to a waterfall. We've got skydiving, we have backpacking. I've done backpacking adventures, and I'll talk a little bit more about that because a lot of people are curious about hiking and backpacking. On the other side of the wall, I have a picture of a group of us that went down to Guatemala and built a house for a family, and I was one of the stronger people there. I've got another couple of photos over here on my left that are kind of my prized photos. Over the last couple of summers, I've trained for 2 different kinds of biking events. 2 years ago, I trained for what's called enduro racing. It's a blend of downhill mountain biking, and it's a little fast. It's not a little fast, it's really fast and a little crazy. It's really fast and a lot crazy. The reason I did it is I love to ride my bike and I love to climb. With enduro racing, you have to climb up the mountains. You don't get to ride a chairlift up, and then they time you on your downhills. So I did that for a summer, which was really cool. I discovered I'm a little scared of speed for legit reasons, right? Like, I've had limbs come out of my skin. So anyway, I tried that for summer. I got pretty fast, but it's like not for me. But what I want to report is I could do it, and it didn't hurt at all. I can ride mountains, dirt trails and road, dependent upon how in shape I am. It has nothing to do with my ankle. This room in here is to train me for my life. Yeah, sure, it helps me strengthen my ankle and do my therapy, but this is more about keeping my muscles and my lungs in shape so that I can go do the things I want to do. Because the next summer I got recruited, so this was just last summer, I got recruited by a friend she said, hey, I want you to come do an Ironman 70.3, so it was a half Ironman, but she's like, I'm putting together a relay team, and I think that you need to put together a relay team too. And I was like, ugh, I don't know. And it was a 56-mile ride that I had to ride under time. So I had teammates. One was a swimmer, I was the rider, and then another teammate was the runner. And we finished. We are Ironman, which is really stinking cool because I had no idea. By the time I got to the race, in just a 3-month time frame, I had logged over 1,000 miles on my road bike, 0 ankle pain, 0, zilch, nada, nothing. It was absolutely incredible. And so then later that summer, the friend that recruited me, we followed it up by doing the Copper Triangle in August, and it was for a fundraiser, but it was an 81-mile ride where we go over 3 different passes. I will admit, Vail Pass at the end, it was a booger, but I did it, and I was never rolling backwards. I was always moving forward, even uphill. Again, 0 ankle pain. I mean, praise the Lord, 0 ankle pain. So life with an ankle replacement, like, I forget to make these videos because I'm just out living life and I say my prayers. 2 days ago, I did an 8-mile round trip day hike with my husband, and we hiked up to nearly 12,000 feet. We went up and we were checking out some alpine lakes, and yes, I can hike on rocky, kind of nasty terrain. I wear really good boots, but it doesn't really bother me. And then we were even scrambling up the side of a mountain to get up to a crater lake that was all snow melt. It was gorgeous. I will say though, with all of this activity I do, it is super important to realize that therapy, my ankle therapy, is a part of my life for the rest of my life. So in order to get me to do therapy on a regular basis, I've disguised it as yoga. I really, really enjoy doing yoga, and it helps me to work on my range of motion, my stability, because I can balance, I can do just about anything I want on my ankle replacement. The one thing that I cannot do well is I don't have a lot of flexion in my ankle. So, but I don't really think that that is the ankle replacement. I think that has more to do with my Achilles. So since 2013, I have had another ankle surgery. I was starting to lock up. So I had my ankle replacement. I get a few years down the road, and I think I was backing too far off my therapy, and my Achilles was tightening. I was getting some bone spurs in around the replacement, and I knew that it was going to start causing issues, because when your ankle is off, it comes all the way up into your hip, your back, and your neck. And so as I have over time felt it progressing up my body, I know it's time to be proactive before I'm too far down a road. So he went in arthroscopically, and he cleaned out all of the bone spurs. And the great part is he was able to actually look at the joint in real time, not just in imaging. And he said the joint looked beautiful, which is just always a wonderful report. And then he had to lengthen my Achilles again, which just really stinks. So that could be also why I'm very adamant about making sure that I do my therapy. After our 8-mile hike a few days ago, the next day I did a 45-minute yoga session, really focusing on making sure that I was stretching my ankle and all the ligaments in my foot, because otherwise it just continues to get stiff and it's hard to get around. So I have been super positive, and I am super positive about my ankle replacement. I mean, it's amazing. I can use this room, and some of you that are getting ready to make some big medical decisions probably are looking at this behind me and you're like, yeah, whatever. But I use this room so that I can be active in my life. But I do want to say that there are many, many times, especially in the morning and in the evening and after I've sat for a while, that I have a limp. Doesn't really bother me. I call it my strut. And it's really until my ankle gets warmed up or I stretch it real good. If it progresses too far into the day, I know that I have to back off for a while, or I need to elevate, I need to take ibuprofen. And that's just what life is, you know? I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm in my 40s. So sometimes I'm like, do things hurt because I had an injury, or do things hurt just because I'm in my 40s now? I don't know. It's hard to say. But I do have a very active dog, and I walk my dog or ride him on the bike pretty much on a daily basis. So I'm getting at least 2 to 3 miles walking, or 3 to 4 miles on a bike every day. I do yard work. As I mentioned, I helped on a mission field to build a house. You guys, I don't feel like I have limitations. It's really, really, I'm a walking miracle, I feel, in a lot of ways. And my prayer is the same thing for you. The ankle replacement is not perfect. How can it be? It's man-made. But it's pretty darn awesome. And I give all the glory to God and Him leading me to the right people. And I encourage you, I know that for me, it is hard to ask for help for myself, like in prayer. Do it anyway. God knows what you're feeling, and reach out to the people around you. I've learned over the years that I ask people, will you please pray for me when you pray for these specific things? And I tell you what, I would be delighted to be that person for you. And I'm happy to talk to you directly. If you want to get in touch with me, the absolute best way to get in touch with me is through my website. I'm going to put that in the information on this video. Go to my website, go to the contact page, because if you go to the contact page, it doesn't end up in spam. And I limit my time on social media. So I sometimes miss comments, or I'll see them like once every quarter, maybe once every half of a year. I go through and look at everything. So if you want to talk or you have specific questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My name's Adrienne Belinsky. It's adriennebelinsky.com. Again, you'll see it in the notes down below. I'm looking at my notes, which are behind the camera, and I think I covered most everything I wanted to cover for an almost 13-year post-op follow-up. Life's good, man, and I'm pretty excited about whatever the future has in store. So God's blessings to you. I look forward to hearing from you if that is something that you need. And that's my update. I've got things to do. It's beautiful outside, and I see either a hike or a bike in my horizon. So I gotta go. See you guys later. Bye.